The Family Guy where they went to go play.
What about the Family Guy? What? We were watching that, and I'm like, you know how hard it is to play the guitar?
Lex just said, yeah.
Because I don't play.
He doesn't play. It just reminded me of a Family Guy where, a Family Guy where, Joe and Quagmire and Peter, they all joined the band and they got their gig and they got up there, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then silence and you hear Peter, oh damn, we don't know how to play our instruments. That's what made me think of when you mentioned that.
Well, yeah, it's pretty much the truth. Hey, Q&A today. Before we jump in, guys, I just want to do this throwdown. Hey, Microsoft, as of January 14, 2020, there is a CVE 2020-0601 bug that's out. It's a crypto API. You guys need to get that cumulative update out there. If you haven't already done it, get it. We've got videos on it, and please get yourself secure, okay?
Yeah. In fact, if you want, first thing forward, just show them right where it is.
Sure, show them.
Just show them and hit the download.
All right,
and
let's do it.
Start going to questions.
All right, so if you go to PDQ Inventory or Deploy, like I just shut down, I'm so good at this.
Start with shutting down the program.
Ow. Okay, Windows, if you do Win space 10, pulls up the cumulative updates. Okay, I know I've got some 1803 out there, 64-bit. Obviously, I already got it downloaded, which is great.
Oh, there you go. So January 14th is what you're talking about.
Okay, deploy once. Okay, choose your targets, inventory, collection, and I'm going to go grab the 64-bit with anything old in it. In this case, you know what? The support team already took care of it. I love it. But normally that would populate. You hit deploy now and off to the races you are. It's that easy.
Perfect. Very, very important.
Absolutely.
But welcome to PDQ A. Can someone get me some water as well? Anybody out there?
Check this out. I brought this for you.
Anybody bring me some non-carbonated water?
I'm gonna lick it though.
You'll get a water.
You'll get a water.
All right, thank you. I've got my whiskey. I've got my delicious 15-year Springbank.
It's delightful. Should we do a question?
Let's drink.
I like it.
Oh my gosh, it's Shane and Lex! Dear Shane and Lex, how can you run a report to show what Windows 10 computers do not have the January 14th cumulative update? Sincerely, Chris L.
All right, and by the way, on the screen, there's a bar coming down to part of the questions. So we heard you.
That's a consequence of our Windows update that we did. You're the only one seeing that.
Yep, nobody else has seen it.
That's a consequence of us not
fixing
taking
the
care
crypto problem. Yeah.
All right,
That's our crypto.
So you want to look at, well, I mean, first of all,
Easiest way. Should I just jump in?
Yeah, if you want to jump in, because you can look at right away. You can look at the collection. You don't even have to build a report.
Collection library, workstations, Windows 10. I'm gonna look. I've got 13 machines with Windows 10. Expand that, and here's how the breakdown is. I've got 1803. Couple.
He fights for words
every day. If I break that out, look, I've got all 8 of these guys are updated. Hey, high five to whoever did that the other day. If you had old ones, they'd be right there. Okay. I think I might have some old Windows 7 so you get an idea of what it looks like. Maybe. There you go. So, again,
but let's look at this. If you want to create a report, since that was the technical question, you can do it from this collection.
Super easy. Right click.
Go ahead.
Right. I get to drive.
Yeah, you're driving. All of a sudden, I just hijacked you. So you can actually go to a collection and create a basic report. You can't create a SQL report, and from a SQL report, you can't create a collection, but you can from a basic.
Now, the great thing is it copies over the filters. Okay, Windows compute. No, I did a new report. Apparently I shouldn't be driving today. Right click.
You want to go a report
from collection, not. Thank you.
And what this will do is create the filters. If you look at the filter, you'll see those are the filters. And
I'll even size it properly. Check it out.
So
the job I should have done earlier.
The filter is set. Obviously, you always want to make sure your collection source is set properly.
If you want to add anything to that, you'd add the columns at this point, and then collection source. We're going to run it against all computers. Give it an OK, and everything that's 1803 is updated, which is great.
That is how you do it. You could save that. That's how you create a report from a collection. So hopefully that answers your question for you. What else we got?
Dear Shane and Lex, any way to use PDQ to remotely turn on wake-on-LAN on remote computers? Thanks, Angel.
If by remote you mean it's off of your network, in other words, you can't access it through the Windows file and share, basically, if you can't see it on your network, it's at someone's house. At this point, no. But if you're talking about remote, that it's at a different building, but still on the same network or the same WAN, then yes. If you can see the computer in here and it is accessible, and you do have wake-on-LAN configured. Remember, there's several areas where on a computer where wake-on-LAN needs to be configured. It needs to be configured in BIOS. It needs to be configured oftentimes at the actual network adapter properties. But if you have all those set up, then you can send that out. And we go through a couple of different machinations. There's some articles on our on our forums explaining how we do this. We kind of go overkill because you can have so many different settings in your environment. Sometimes there's your network department. They just don't want to allow
the broadcast.
Yeah,
I wouldn't if I was a security guy. I wouldn't.
It's kind of network 101. Yeah. So we've kind of taken wake-on-LAN and taken it to the next level. First of all, there's the broadcast that will usually get filtered out at the subnet level. So anything off that subnet will be filtered out because it's just the broadcast. So then we do what's called directed broadcasts. You can talk to your network team to enable that if you want, and that's where we look at the target and say, as far as we know, we can send this to the subnet where that target was last seen. That way you're not trying to send a broadcast out to every single computer. Directed broadcasts are something that your networking team will probably have to enable. You can also set it up to say, hey, this is my PDQ server, so allow directed broadcasts only from this IP address. And then the last fail-safe is if none of those work, we will isolate or try to find an online system in that subnet, the same subnet where the computer was last seen, and then have that send a broadcast out. So there's a couple of ways.
I'm just going to show you before you switch. Here's the settings. In Deploy, you go to Options, Preferences, Deployments, right there. Send wake-on-LAN.
That's before deployment.
Yep, that's the port. And then in Inventory, Options, Preferences, under Scanning, send a wake-on-LAN.
That's before, or if you want, obviously that's before the scan. And then of course you have a lot of things saved. In Inventory, you can always just go to a target computer that happens to be offline. Tool, yeah. And do we have any? Sleeping Beauty, if that were to work, you could come right over here and send
tools.
Where's my tools? Yeah, there it is. Wake. Or Control-Alt-W if you have the computer set up.
That should wake up if we do that.
That will send the wake up, and that will go through all those different machinations that I had mentioned to you before. So.
Hey, Shane and Lex, what does the Windows 7 end of support mean for you and for us? Sincerely, Selfman.
Hey, it's Selfman.
What does it mean for me? So for security-wise, it means a whole lot, guys.
The way XP, isn't it?
Yeah, the way we viewed it is it's the same thing with XP and with Vista. We will technically support it if we can, as long as the vendor supports it. Once the general support has ended, then we necessarily end it as well. So when as OSs fall out of support, now that you can usually contact the vendor, in this case obviously Microsoft, and say we want a special dispensation and we'll pay you lots and lots of money for some additional support. That doesn't count for us because we're not paying them all that money.
That was yesterday, wasn't it?
They get enough from us.
I think that was it Monday?
Yeah,
it was Monday.
Which was
end of life?
Oh, was it Monday? Yeah.
I know it was Monday.
So basically, they're going to stop sending. We'll show them here for a while. They'll stop sending updates for them. So obviously, we won't make those updates if they're not available from the vendor. And there will come a point where, since we're based off of .NET, where .NET will no longer work with a certain OS. We saw that with XP as well. And once we hit that level, then we won't even be able to show it in inventory. So it is time, Marcel, to get off of Windows 7.
What he said.
This question is a holdover from last week. What if we have multiple domains? We still are unable to scan multiple trusted forests. Sincerely, Da Ali G Show.
Ali G.
So if you have multiple domains, but if you have an account on those domains or you have an enterprise account, either one will work. When you go to add computers, for example, so I'm just going to look at this kind of manually and not through AD Sync. You can get this to work through AD Sync. But if you're just going to, go ahead.
Let me show you where I'd go. First thing I would do
I was
is
going
this.
to go and choose a different domain.
Oh, yeah.
Where you choose a different domain and then enter credentials for said domain.
I like the way you go. I did the other route. I just go and I said, let's go get credentials for that domain first. So we're going to add credentials, put your domain in, put your credentials, and then when I go change the domain, I grab the appropriate credentials. Okay. So, 6 of one kind, half dozen of another.
Yeah, it could be if you don't have an enterprise account that you can use, and by the enterprise I mean one that can work throughout all the different domains. Then you're left to obviously having to enter in the credentials for each of those domains. But the cool thing is, you can have those credentials be the credentials that are used to scan those computers from here on out. By default, the credentials that bring a computer in to the network are the credentials that are used to scan for subsequent scans. So,
and I just want to throw this out there. If you go and check this on your deployments, use PDQ Inventory scan credentials. The ones that are stored for each of the domains, it's going to grab those and use it. Makes your life super easy.
Really comes down, it sounds like you probably don't have access to an enterprise account that will handle it. So you're just going to need to go in there and enter all those different credentials for those trusted domains.
Yep.
Also, make sure you have all the firewall rules set up so that PDQ can talk to the targets and the other domains.
Thank you very much, Colby. Yes, it's very important.
It won't work if you can't do that.
Yeah, but we will have people say, hey, we've got customers that VPN, or we have employees that VPN in, but we can't access those. Well, that's because they'll VPN to a special area that turn off the file and print sharing. Remember, with the file and print sharing, you can look at all those firewall rules that we need. We still need access to that. So once those VPN areas are taken care of with the firewall rules, all of a sudden, voila, VPN computers can be taken care of.
Okay. Once again, if you have any questions, I just Googled PDQ firewall ports. There they are.
Brig, and of course you can see that Brig wrote this. Brig is by all means, except for musically, he is a rock star.
Yeah. In every way it counts.
Dear Shane and Lex,
And the figurative, not literal.
can you make a dynamic collection of domain computers based on who is logged into it or user profiles on it? Thanks. Nah.
All right, so can't create. There's two parts to this. Okay, so, first of all, you can create a collection based off of the last logged on user that we've seen, but that's not always what you're looking for. If you're looking for scan profiles, that's where you're going to need to use a report, and that report has to be used in conjunction with an inventory scanner, probably WMI, but inventory is going to be a little easier. Or registry. Registry scanner. And the registry
Or
scanner.
WMI, because I'm doing the WMI right now.
WMI, that's fine. WMI
Okay.
is going to, I think you have to dig a little. If you know where to go for it. I know right where to go for the registry. But you have to have a custom scanner. Use that custom scanner, populate that information that will show you all those profiles. Then you can create a report showing those profiles.
So I've actually got a video out on this.
Yeah.
How the WMI, here it is. I'm going to pull the local path from root SimV2, the Win32 user profile. That path will give you the profiles that are on the machine.
And we had to use it. There was one time I had a customer, this is years ago, a customer that one of their customers was in trouble with the FBI.
No kidding.
Yes, the FBI came in and said, I need to know every single computer this person had logged onto. Well, what we could do is look for any profile that has been created, not purged, any profile that had been created. So show them how to do that, show the customer how to do that so that they could facilitate this legal request. A guy got into some trouble. But it's a registry scanner or a WMI. Lex will go WMI. Lex generally likes more pain. I like a little less pain.
It's more.
This is why
it's
our relationship.
Elegant pen,
our relationship
elegant
works.
pain.
We have a network safe word.
Pineapple. Pineapple. Or was it
They're giving away all
meatloaf? Or
our
was it
secrets.
meatloaf? I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that.
I love meatloaf. You know what? I'm a meatloaf fan. I don't care.
I do. I like meatloaf. Too.
Everybody can go to hell. I like meatloaf.
Great. Who doesn't like meatloaf?
Not on my dinner plate, but the music's good.
I love it. I listen to Bat Out of Hell at least 3 times a year. Seriously.
album.
Great album.
Absolutely.
Dear Shane and Lex, what's the best practice for an ongoing auto deployment, i.e., identify computers that don't have AV, then push AV packages ASAP? Thanks, Christopher F.
Well, when you're talking about ASAP, okay, so we have a lot of different triggers. You're talking about triggers. First of all, you've got to create a collection that can. You got to create a collection that can detect which ones have an old version.
I'm going
of
to
your.
pretend our AV is called 7-zip in this one.
Okay.
Just
So
'cause
you
it's a good
got to
example.
create one that shows computers that don't have the latest version. And trust me, if you want help on seeing how to create something without a latest version, you can go to our forums and look at our support site, or look at our collection library and look for computers that are missing this, and you'll see the filters that you can use. And
Can I
then-
point this out? When you're looking for something that's missing, if it's a one-to-many relationship, like one computer can have many applications installed, just remember, this is your container. Go find the ones that have it, and then return me not any of those.
Yeah, it comes back to the group filter.
Yep.
Thank you. So this is how you can do it. Now, as far as the triggers, that's up to you. You can do. You can have this kicked off, every hour. You can have it kicked off every few minutes if you want. I wouldn't recommend that. Ideally, kick it off maybe for AV, maybe twice a day, and then have a heartbeat scan, so that when that computer's been offline for a while and then comes back online, that turning online an inventory sends a trigger to deploy saying, hey, Lex's computer is now online. Is there anything waiting for it? And it will get pushed out.
And the great thing is, guys, I've got the new version of 1803. You can actually set intervals on those. So that's coming out. Keep an eye out. The beta's out for it. So that's how you can do that.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Hey, Shane and Lex, do you have any tips, tricks, or processes that would be helpful with Windows migrations? Thank you, Carl Jr. Burger.
Love the fries.
I can give you my standard answer, unless you guys, Colby or Lex have something. It's with the way that Deploy is designed, you can kick off like a Windows upgrade.
Feature upgrade, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're looking more at it from the software deployment aspect. While it will work, it's still kind of, what we do is we send out, hey, update this application or apply this patch, and we wait for that computer to return success or failed or any number of return codes. When you do when you say, hey, I want to upgrade Windows, you submit that instruction to it, it will kick that off, but it will never return back. So it actually...
You run into a couple issues, right? There's always a reboot in there, which we can't suppress. So there's a chance it could time out, and you get like, well, I don't know what happened with this, right? No return codes. So many people have done it. We've got, in the community, you can read how people have done it. Again, the only way to really check if it was successful is to go check your inventory, do a scan, and see that inventory people have moved from 1803 to 1903.
So we have people push out, hey, I'm going to upgrade to this latest version of Windows 10, and then they'll give it a few hours or whatever for that upgrade, and then they'll start to scan those targets as they come back online. And if the OS, many times the OS changes and shows the appropriate one, and those that don't are either still in the middle of it or there was a problem.
Yep.
I'm
going to add. I got to add this.
Please.
Okay. It's an OS upgrade.
never did
Okay.
that water.
If you ever end up doing this on a mass scale and you do, it's bad. I mean, Deploy. You can do a lot of good really fast. You do a lot of bad really fast. So if you're going to do it in small sections. So you only, if there's a problem, you only jack up a few instead of all of them.
All right.
Did I get? I mean, yeah.
I just so you know, I just popped. Sorry if that bothered anybody. I just opened up this can. Adam Carolla did Loveline with Dr. Drew on MTV for years, and he said one of the few things that annoyed him was it seemed like every time the tape started rolling, you would hear the Diet Coke whoosh. It was almost as though he was timing it, or he had asked someone to bring him a coffee, and they brought it just as it started rolling, and you'd hear this, "Thank you." Yeah, and then anyway,
You couldn't have done that 30 seconds before.
Yeah, right. It's like almost as though it were timed. The best part though was Corolla saying how many times he pulled into the garage, and he could hear in the radio. On K-Rock, he could hear the theme song starting,
Oh, yeah.
and he
would
just
show up
pulling
right.
up. So Drew has been storyboarding for 2 hours. Corolla walks in just as they're starting, and then just
You and I have both
riff.
lived in LA. That's a pretty impressive feat to make it,
really
right
is.
on time with that kind of traffic.
Yeah,
He had that dialed in.
At the time he was driving from Hollywood Hills to Culver City.
I want to point this out. That was today for you, my friend. I mean, you were here a little bit early, but
Yeah, I ran. I was running a little late. Sorry.
And can I tell you, as a former
I
radio
love it.
program director, oh, that drives me nuts.
that was beautiful.
That's why I do it. So it's the last thing that gives me joy in this life is to piss off Kelly.
He thought he was away
Please
from
don't. Please don't take that from
He
me.
thought when radio was over, that would be over, but
It follows you.
All right.
Dear Shane and Lex, is there any way to organize schedules other than sorting? Thanks, Jonathan.
Well, we have all of our schedules. I mean, obviously, there's sorting. If you look at, we don't have any schedules set up.
I just nuked him this morning.
It's okay.
I did. All
Well
of them.
done. Well done. We use the same control for schedules that we do for other things. So I'm gonna look at inventory because you get the same idea. Yes, obviously you can sort. There's ascending and descending. Hopefully we all have that down. If you don't have that one down, you're probably in the wrong industry. But you can write.
We can sort. Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Once again, just proving my point by being Lex. Let's say I want to organize this by OSs and not just sorting. You can right-click and say group by this column. And then you'll see those groupings, and you can expand, et cetera, and see kind of a better way of grouping, right? To clear that out, by the way, you can just right-click a number of places and just say ungroup. When it comes to collections, here's all the different columns that you can group by. And if you ever want to know, you can always click in this little corner, top left, that little button. You can click on that, and you can see any of the columns that are hidden. In this case, we have one that's called enabled that is hidden. But going back to inventory, you can see quite a few of them. It just depends on the control that you're looking at. Anyway, you can also do that from the view by edit columns. It's just whatever window happens to be activated is obviously we're looking at context here. So that's how you can do it. Try doing the group by, and you can do groups in multiple levels. It's just hierarchical.
I just want to add this. If you're worried about screwing things up, check it out. Reset.
Yeah.
And you're back to at least where you started. So
The reset, yes, the reset.
I
takes
use
it
that
back
one
to the default
a lot.
Colby, is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
Not really. Unfortunately, we don't have like folders or anything like that for schedules.
Not for schedules, yeah.
Yeah. The main thing I'm thinking is if you have like related schedules, maybe start their name with the same word, so that way when you sort them, they kind of show up together in the list.
I've seen customers. I've been able to visit. I've been able to visit a lot of you. In fact, if I've been to your place, hello. I've been visit a lot of customers. I love seeing how they've configured things, and I have seen schedules that they haven't really used the group by, but they'll use the sort, and the beginning of the schedule is all by the department name, for example. So they can easily see engineering. They can easily see accounts receivable, et cetera, and base it off of that. But don't forget the grouping. Grouping is probably one of those features that just doesn't come up a lot, and it is powerful.
And it's easy.
It is. It's a great way of being able to view your data in different ways. All right, next.
Dear Shane and Lex, is there a way to run a Windows version upgrade to a specific version, i.e. update anything below up to 1809, not latest? Thanks, Curtis.
Well, I would start with a collection that says anything that's got a version less than 1809.
Yeah, I think the way I'm reading the question is, do you have to go to the latest? As long as you have the installation files, in other words, the package for that previous version. Let's just take your Windows. You want to go to 1809. You want to go to 1803. Deploy that to those machines that are below that, and then that will take it to that level. You don't have to in the Windows with PDQ Deploy and the Windows updates or many other applications. You don't have to go to the latest version that the vendor offers. In fact, a lot of customers, they'll do that. They will say, "Hey, we've tested Chrome to this version. We want to keep it at this version." One caveat that we would throw out there: if you do that with certain applications, then be careful with your auto downloads, or at least the schedules for auto downloads. Let's say that you've settled on a 7-zip version and you know that this is good and you don't want everybody to be running disparate versions. Don't keep that one waiting to download the newest version and deploy it out there. Maybe make that a standard package.
There you go. Yep. Go in here, make it a standard package. You open the package, go to options, or excuse me, you got to go to the package level. Options.
I was waiting.
I know how to do this. I really do.
You see,
standard package, and boom, there you go.
You can also download as a standard.
That
package.
is true.
If you're saying, "Hey, I want to go out there," how many people realize this? You go out to package library. We're going to close Windows 10 here. I'm just going to grab one here at VLC. I like VLC. We're going to go to VLC. If you notice, we've got all these different versions.
Legacy version, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe you want to go to 3071, but not 308. You can just click download now. Now, when you do that, when you download an older version, it automatically downloads it as a standard package. But
also, I just want to point this out. If you want 308 as a standard package, I can right-click on that and download selected as a standard package.
Cool.
So, I did want to point one thing out. I'm not sure, Colby, maybe you can answer this. If you're upgrading like 1803 or 1709 up to 1903 or whatever, do they have different installs for those? Because they're different featured versions? Because if they are, if you take a look at our packages here at like 1803, you can go in, and it is right there, and you can take a look at the install, and we've got a condition that says, so you can make sure the right version gets the right upgrade.
Oh, that's a good. Thank you very much for catching that. You're going to want to go to make this a standard package, and then change that to anything that's below like 1803 or something like that.
Yep.
Just you don't want it to exclude it. The problem is you just want to make sure. You want to make sure that you're not. You want to make sure you're installing the whole OS.
Absolutely. And just remember, test it before you launch it to everybody, guys. Just make sure all your options and everything, your conditions are met.
Yeah, well, we did build this so that you would have the option to keep it at certain versions. We know that a lot of you, for change management purposes, like that.
Absolutely.
So next.
I would like to mention real quick.
Oh, Colby.
Sorry. The ability to download as a standard package is only available in the beta. That is not currently in the release.
Is not currently in the release?
Oh, when you the right click download as.
What I just did from the standard package library.
Changing the way you can say, "Hey, I want default to go standard or default to go auto." That's in there. That's in release. You're talking about what Lex just showed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Being able to download it as a standard package from the package library.
All right.
Correct. But if you still go and click on that older version, there's later versions, and you click on an older one, that will download as standard. It will.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, that's been that way for
so
a while.
that being said, I just need to make sure I download it regular, convert to standard package until you get the new version. Yeah, thanks, Colby. I'm so excited about the new version. I just love all the features.
Shane and Lex.
Yeah.
Target computer name mismatch. How do you fix this? Sincerely, Eric C.
There's a number of ways. It really comes down.
I got 99 problems, and DNS is every last
a lot
one
of it comes down. A lot of it comes down to DNS. So there's some things you're going to want to do to fix DNS. We've covered this quite a bit. There's a lot of articles out there. Really, the DNS that mismatch means that DNS, which we use and rely on, that A record shows that it's going to a different host. That's usually fixed by stuff like scavenging, maybe making your DNS scavenging a little bit more aggressive.
Couple of things.
There's a lot of things you can
will
look
help
at.
you diagnose the problem. If you go grab the lookup by IP address.
So hold on, where did you go?
Okay. What people can't just
In inventory tools.
Thank you. Inventory tools customize. Went to tools library. Okay. I've already downloaded these, so it is right here. If you grab NetBIOS by IP, so basically, if you take a look at these guys, let's just go in and edit these so you can see what's actually being run. Okay. This is an NBT stat -A, which is basically I knock on the door. Shane's supposed to live here, and Lex answers. You're like, oh, this is what the machine
Shane
actually
moved.
is.
Okay.
Shane moved. The other one would be lookup by IP address, and again, we're just basically running an NS lookup on this. So you can see this is what the phone book says, and this is who answered the. So that's a good way to diagnose.
Lex, I thought it was, I've got 99 problems and DNS is 100 of them.
Or as Josh says, something like if you think it's not DNS, it still is DNS.
Yeah.
It really comes down to it. I hope it's probably not the most satisfactory answer, but we have to base off of. There's a number of external factors. We kind of have to have a source of truth. This would be this is our source of truth is DNS. Now there's kind of ways around that for. Hey, what if the computer has multiple DNS addresses? We talked about that last week, and we covered it where you can go into preferences and just say, when you're trying to hit this computer, look at all of the multiple addresses. In this case, it will test those addresses until it hits one that returns.
But as soon as one returns, if it's the not right one, you're going to get that.
Then you could get that mismatch. But anyway, really look at DNS because that comes down. That's a lot of what it is. It's most likely DNS.
The video, search PDQ site for happy healthy DNS or healthy happy DNS. Anyway, that's a good video. Brig's amazing in that.
Rock on.
Dear Shane and Lex, the package library within PDQ Deploy is very useful. Is this an area you will continue to update with common apps? Thanks, Jason.
Yes. And
Absolutely.
we actually have an area out there where you can request apps. Now, keep in mind there's some limitations. We'll get requests for apps. Hey, can you please add this? And
can you add Autodesk or Revit?
Yeah, if you have to pay for it, no. Also, before we add something to the package library, we actually read the EULA and make sure that we are allowed to do that. There are some even free applications that expressly prohibit deploying this without using the paid version. There's some that just say, if we're going to violate that, then the answer is no.
So for some of those that are really popular, like Office, you can go to the YouTube page, type in Office, and you get install Office 365. These are, follow along and we'll help you do it.
Yeah, you'll have to build your own. But
Yep.
the answer is yes. It's just keep in mind that just because it's requested doesn't mean it will be added. We have to make sure that the installer will actually work, and that legally we're allowed to offer that, and that you're allowed to deploy it.
Legal, Eagle, Beagle. Yeah.
Doesn't mean that we won't stop you from building your own package.
That's the beauty
Put
of
that out
PDQ
there.
Deploy.
Dear Shane and Lex, some workstations are showing up as failed to connect to the service manager. How do you fix this? Thanks, Eric C.
This is a registry setting, isn't it?
No, not necessarily.
No?
But now I'm going to go back to some older information, this has been popping up for a while. This really started a lot in Vista and Windows 7. Interested to know if it's still around in Windows 10. The problem a lot of this comes down to, and part of it is actually kind of DNS in a way.
Okay.
But here's the interesting thing about failing to connect to the service manager. In order to manage a computer, when I say manage, scan, deploy, whatever, we make a call out to that computer. We see that, hey, I am using my credentials as Shane, and I'm going to go out to that computer and say, can Shane access this? Yes. And I will create a service that works. And the service says run as Shane. And then that target tries to send that authentication out to Windows, and then it fails. The service manager fails. And it's weird because it fails partway through what should have worked. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that sometimes if you're using a short name in credentials, you need to use the long name. In other words, a short name would be domain/lex, whereas the long name would be lex.domain, right? Or the other way around, lex.domain, change the credentials to the short. Or really make sure that DNS is working all the way around your environment. That's what a lot of it comes down to. So what Lex is showing is the remote repair, and sometimes this will actually work, and you'll still get that error. Why? Because we can connect to the service. It's just once that service tries to authenticate, that's where Windows says, whoa, you can't do this. And it almost always comes down to this, to what I had mentioned with DNS and the fact that a long or short name. Interestingly enough, I saw this a lot on Windows 7 when your deploy user, when your background service user was set to a non-domain admin, and the target computer did not have the Windows firewall enabled. Now, I don't know if that's still an issue. That was back in the day. That would definitely kick it off. The Windows firewall was disabled on the target, and the background service user was not a domain admin, even if the deploy or scan user was an admin. And we worked with Microsoft, and we could never get away around that. The best way we can say is may also make sure that your background service has the highest level of credentials that you're allowed to give.
Verify that, options, background service. That's where you check that.
Yeah. That's the user that the background service uses.
If you did want to run that remote repair, you go to help, remote repair, highlight the machine you want, hit remote repair, and then you hit analyze, you're off to the races.
Yeah. Remote repair will just run some of the basic tests. But anyway,
I'll let you know.
That is a pain. We've gotten great responses when people say, hey, I just changed the credentials, honestly, and now it works everywhere. I don't see that problem. Or I did have to turn on the Windows firewall service even though I don't have any rules configured. So.
Dear Shane and Lex, how can I create a collection based on Office 365 Outlook x86 64? Thanks, Ali G.
Hey, you are... so when it comes to Outlook, at least, Outlook does store a value in the registry called bitness.
Bitness.
Yes. It's one of the only Microsoft Office applications that does that. So you can actually look to see which version of Outlook, or specifically which version of Office, or which architecture is it x86 or is it x64? So you're going to need to use a registry scanner to do that. Honestly, where that really fails is when you've those few customers that have Office but they don't use Outlook. Outlook is the one that stores that bitness of 64 or x86.
Yeah, if you pop that up, all I did was I went to options, scan profiles, new scan profile, and I added registry scanner. That's where you'd go after that.
We have a lot of videos on configuring it. It's actually probably a little too much for us to type on the go here.
Absolutely too much.
And we're going to start our speed round and power through the next dozen or so questions. Dear Shane and Lex, is there a way to use credentials with just a local username, no password, to deploy to a computer before putting on a domain? Sincerely, the pirate Captain Murphy.
I've never tested that. I saw that question come in.
That's that just scares me.
No, whether it scares you or not, that sounds like it's the reality there. They have a domain that is just used for adding computers, and they don't. Have you tested this before, Colbster?
I'm testing it right now, and it looks like probably not.
Interesting. So where if you don't, I mean, I'm going to assume you've created the credentials and you just didn't put a password in there. So maybe someone verify that on our team, and or if you can, create a very simple password.
I will say this: if a Colby does a probably not, I'm going to just roll with probably not.
Never tested that. I guess just I've never, even in a lab environment, I've never thought of not having a password. But obviously, we're expecting a password there.
Yeah.
Dear Shane and Lex, is there a way to create a collection from report results? Sincerely, Carl Jr., the sandwich maker.
Okay, so the last word, results, not from the filters. So there's a way to create a collection from a report. If we go to, where's our reports?
Right. One more down. There you go.
So if we go to reports, and we'll just say, let's look at applications, we can, we'll just run applications real quick. And then, where am I going? I want to,
Let's go to tools maybe, or file.
thank you.
I think you're thinking of the new collection from
Collection
report
from
button
report, yeah.
to the right of tools, but you have to have a filter.
Oh, you do have to have a filter. That's right, because that's
right,
all that we
right.
grab. So as long as you're filtered, so I'm sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
nope, it's gone.
No, we've got one right here.
There we go.
Because we know we have filters here. Thank you very much, Colby. Yeah, when we create collections going from a report, all we grab are the filters. The column will always just have the computer name in there. So if you have a filter, then there's a new collection from report. But what that does is it creates the collection with those filters. It doesn't create like a static collection with the results of just whatever happened then at that point. If that's what you're looking for, you might be able to copy and paste and then copy and paste again.
Yeah.
Let's try it.
We don't
That's
have
the
the
wrong
old
one.
ones. That's a good one, but
Now we don't have one set
Everybody's
up.
updated.
Maybe select all. So it's the results that I'm looking for. If you actually meant create a collection from a report, then yes. If you're talking about a results, there might be a multiple step, and you're going to want to create a static collection based off of that. Probably copy and paste will do it for you.
Hey, Shane, Lex, and Colby. It seems the community forums in our PDQ are pretty quiet. Is PDQ putting forth effort to improve user engagement? Thanks, Gandalf the Grey.
Gandalf. Yes, we are. And
absolutely.
sorry that you're feeling like that's not the case. We have made some changes to our community forums. We've moved it around a little bit, so apologies. But I'd get in there and just do a shout out if you haven't yet, and then we will throw down a little bit and call out. I know we've got people like Selfman that are fairly active on there. Quite a few users that don't work here that are also active, but put a shout out and see what's going on. That's our bad if we're not engaging. Thank you for calling that out. We'll start rolling some heads.
Dear Shane and Lex, should PDQ inventory updates wipe out static collections where I have manually imported info? Had to restore my database. Sincerely, Kevin.
No. If you did an update, and you had a static collection that was wiped out, and you did not delete it, the update itself deleted it, that is what we would call a bug. Now, we have so many customers that have static collections that I think that if this was a widespread problem, if this was really a bug, we would have heard wailing, weeping, and gnashing of teeth. But no, that would be a bug. I would look to see that I mean, it was. Chances are it was probably deleted some other way. Pull that question back up, and because that big ass bar is right there, I can't see it. Will you read that again, Kelford?
Yeah. Should PDQ inventory updates wipe out static collections where I have manually imported info?
I have a thought on that,
Unless
Kevin.
the computer objects were deleted.
That's
as
what I was
well.
thinking. If you're doing under your preferences Active Directory, let's say you've added a bunch of manually added them, and then you have a sync where you're full sync, and those machines are not in Active Directory, the machines themselves will get deleted.
If the collection's sticking around and the machines are out, look to see if that machine is somewhere else. If that machine's out of your inventory, then yes, it got removed from a number of methods, whether it's a manual delete, a sync. If the collection itself is deleted, definitely, and you didn't do it, that would be a bug.
Support.
And then if we strip out those memberships, like I said, we'd be hearing about it, but maybe this is the first one that's noticed it.
But if the machines are disappearing, go in and change your sync from a full sync to a mixed sync, and that might keep those machines around.
Okay.
Hey, Shane and Lex, any plans to integrate PDQ Inventory with Solarwinds WebHelpdesk Inventory? Sincerely, Tim Allen?
Hey, Tim
Tim the
Allen.
Toolman.
No plans. There's some SolarWinds applications that you can build tools in PDQ Inventory to access, to kind of interface with, but we don't have any plans to do any native integration.
Something that you can do, depending on exactly what you're trying to integrate, sometimes you can set up an auto report to automatically export information from inventory and then have Web Help Desk or whatever other product you're trying to integrate with ingest that CSV file, for example.
So there's ways of doing it, some more manual steps, exporting and then importing, but we're not planning on anything native. No.
Hey, Shane and Lex, is there a prompt for users that they can click on, a notification for when an install works best for them? Thanks, Greg F.
Trying to process that question. Is there a prompt? Okay. No. So you're talking about the users. I was thinking administrators. So, hey, we want to deploy. We don't have that feature. We've considered it. It's.
We're going to update your Windows.
Do you want to say
log
yes
off,
to this?
Whatever. Yeah. Boom.
It's what SCCM does. No, we don't have that feature. That doesn't mean that we won't have it in the future, but we don't have that right now. We are built with the idea of, we're meant for the small to mid-sized companies, honestly, and this is where the administrator says, hey, I'm going to deploy this out, and I'm going to choose
You're
an appropriate
it.
time, I'll schedule it, et cetera, and then it goes out. When you're talking to these really large organizations where they want people to be able to opt out up to a certain point, no, we don't have that feature.
Speed Round continues with a question from Evan S. Is there an advantage to use a report over dynamic group and vice versa?
Yeah, absolutely. A report can show you more information
Absolutely.
than a dynamic
Dynamic collection just shows you the computer name, and
the dynamic collection can show you anything that's listed. I'm going to click here. Remember
Yes.
how we mentioned all these columns? Anything that's listed in any of these columns in the collection window, we can show you. When it starts to show, as Lex had mentioned, the one-to-many relationship, so notice you don't see applications there. It's because one application or one computer can have many applications. That's where definitely reports start to shine. So when you need to show information that's not just one OS to one computer, but all the services for a computer, broken up into department or something, that's where reports come in. So reports take the collection and just add a lot of muscle to it.
And just so you know, the information that's shown here is from the computer table. So
Yes.
that and maybe custom fields.
A computer table or things that we've built in
Yeah.
with views that have a one-to-one relationship.
Link that, yeah.
So I have a lot of variables in inventory. How can I sort them? Sincerely, Darren B.
I'm so happy that somebody has variables in there. I don't even think we thought about sorting.
Oh, there we go. I can
besides
sort
that,
them by name. I
and
can
you can-
sort them by value.
and then right-click on that, and then you can do the group by. I'm just so excited. So sort, ascending, descending, or group by. Obviously, there's just a handful of columns that you can do. But yes, the answer is yes. But I'm just so excited that there's enough
Someone's using variables.
custom variables that somebody is even in the point where they need to sort them. And I want to call out also when you're looking at variables. I'm going to open up. Let me just open this up. When you're looking at variables in this, like you're opening up a collection library or something, notice that little X. That means that you can click on the variables, right? When
you select your custom variables there.
yes, go ahead.
You can also, depending on what is in that variable, like if it's a system variable, it'll actually show you what the value is.
Variables are supported here. It's so exciting. I can't get over the fact that someone's actually using them. And Lex, you mentioned last week, remember your custom variables begin with an @ not a. The system variables are something that we maintain. They begin with a $sign. But that's how you can sort them. Just so
Absolutely.
exciting. Well done.
Hey, Shane and Lex, any way to set up a report of new packages created by admins every week? These are packages admins create in our organization, not general packages available in PDQ. Thanks, Humphrey.
Obviously, they're using central server.
This might be a SQL query, maybe?
Trying to think if we
that's inventory,
What we
yeah.
capture, what we cap. No, we're talking about packages. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So
Deploy.
inventory, you could do a SQL, but
Yeah, we don't really have any auditing features like that.
You could maybe. It depends on, and I haven't dug in there. You could. Oh, boy, this is really unsupported. You could go into a SQL. You could go into a SQL and
Window and do
SQLite
it.
command. No, it's okay. Look at all the packages, and there might be the creator there, and then you could create outside of deploy and inventory a SQL report that you run. But no, it's not something that's native yet. That is something that we've considered. Trust me.
2 more questions to go. Dear Shane and Lex, I get random MSI errors on deployments. It isn't ever the same deployment or machine. What causes that? Sincerely, Danny G. No relation to Kenny.
What caused MSI errors? Boy, there's a huge list of them. In fact, there's a great website where you can look. There's so many of them that yeah, it depends. So let's go ahead and click on one.
let's grab a 128 error.
No, you
And that I went in the wrong place.
Scroll down. Just scroll down. Just scroll.
I'm gonna do
Or
it.
control find. Yeah.
128.
So, I mean, here, we should try to report this, but there are so many MSI errors, and it can be, I mean, because every target is different, there can be different, depends on the MSI being deployed. Maybe this target didn't meet the requirements. Maybe this target didn't have enough memory. Maybe this target was missing a core file.
Maybe it needed a reboot. Maybe there's an MSI
Yes.
already running. I mean,
This is, I mean, the answer is, we're just looking at the MSI returned by the installer. That error code, remember, not all error codes mean bad. It's
Yep.
better to
Some
throw
are
it as
success.
the return code.
return code, yes.
3010 is a popular one, which means it was successful. You just need to reboot it. So we
E1641
just
too.
take that return code, whatever the MSI sends, and we display that. As far as them coming down, I would do what Lex did, Google that and find out kind of why that target failed with that number.
And again, here's where you'd find the error codes that we consider success.
Yeah. Sometimes you're going to have to add a new error code there, delineated by a comma, because it turns out that code is actually a success code.
And our final question of the day, how can we create a deploy package for the PDQ client for deploy that does not prompt for license or PDQ server or port info? We want to deploy the client to our admins without them having to provide all this info. Thanks, Humphrey.
Go ahead, Colby.
I wrote a blog a while ago about how to do this. Basically, when you install Deploy and Inventory, they cache a copy of the MSI that is extracted from the exe in a predictable path. And we also have some system variables that we added in recent versions. So it's relatively easy to create packages to point to those MSIs and deploy them, and use a PowerShell step to set the key information in the registry.
Any chance you could quickly look that blog up and then post that link in the chat?
I already posted it in the chat. Now, I do need to update that blog because I think it was early in version 18, we actually made it so that you can install client mode without setting the license. Client mode will contact the server for the license.
Yes, that was to avoid having to have the license unnecessarily used when it doesn't care. Okay. Look, Colby posted that out there, and then in later versions, client mode should not be an issue because it uses the license key on the central server. Cool. Well, that was a lot of questions.
A lot of fun.
It's been a while. I've been gone for a little while. I was able to watch last week, but It's good to be back, everybody. And
It's good to have
I gotta
Shane
get.
back,
I gotta get to know. We got a lot of new faces around here. I gotta get to meet everybody.
Absolutely. I'm feeling, we're a little out of sorts. Normally, I feel way more insulted by the time we're done.
Yeah, the insults weren't flying.
I'm not going to leave
Well,
crying
okay,
today.
so we call this one a failure.
We'll do better next week.
Got a game on next week, so
Dang, sorry guys.
thank you guys.
Rock on, everybody.
I'm Lex.
I'm Shane. Cheers.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Darren B. and Humphrey, winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.